Hey, Kiara, thank you so much for being here today. We're so grateful that we get to interview you. I would love if you could introduce yourself.
Hi, Courtney. Thank you so much for having me. My name's Kiara, and I am a writer. I have my own blog, podcast, and I recently released my first poetry book last year in the spring of 2023. So it's a poetry collection called Blooming Poetry for Seasons of Change. And I'm really excited about it and hoping to do a second book as well.
Love that so much. I would love if you could tell us what your book's about.
Yeah, absolutely. So it is a poetry collection, as I mentioned, and it goes through the four different seasons: summer, fall, winter, and spring, and takes you on a journey throughout those four different seasons. Goes through lots of highs and lows, different cycles of growth and grief. I feel like it ends on an uplifting note, but it definitely has some of those darker moments into the book as well and touches on some mental health content.
Love that so much. What inspired you to write your book?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good question. I had been writing for a long time. I actually started writing when I was quite a bit younger, when I was in elementary and high school. So I had all this poetry writing that I had built up over time. And I had the idea of pulling it into a collection. So I didn't actually sit down and write the book all at once. It was definitely something that was compiled over a longer period of time. And once I decided that I wanted to use those four different seasons to kind of explore that story, I was able to fit the poems that I had into each of those different sections. And that's just how it all came together. So I guess the long and short of it is my life story. And in terms of the publishing journey, I did go through a big personal loss that kind of gave me that final push to begin the self publishing journey.
Amazing. When you were writing your book, who were you thinking of when it comes to who your book is for?
I would say it's for anyone that is going through changes in their lives, whether that is going in or out of a breakup, going from school to being a grown adult, different transitions like that. It definitely deals with those ups and downs of navigating different changes in life.
Love that so much. How long have you been writing and what made you really sit down and start?
Yeah, so as I mentioned, I started when I was quite a bit younger. I think it's something that just always came naturally to me. My mom always said that I was going to be a writer when I was younger, so it's just been a way for me to really process my emotions and thoughts that I might be having. It just kind of comes out on the page for me, and so it's a very natural medium for me to express myself.
Love that. What is your schedule like when you are writing a book?
Great question. So, I don't know if I approached writing my book in a way that most people do. As I said, I didn't really sit down and write it all at once. I had all this content already that I wanted to pull together. And so it was really just finding the time to do it when I had time available, and I kept making different edits of what I thought the overall feel of the book would be and what that journey would be like. I really wanted to take readers on a journey throughout the book, and so I very much had that big picture in mind when I was creating that writing and pulling it all together.
Love that. What do you need in your writing space to help you stay focused?
Great question. I try to minimize distractions as much as I can. I like to have some music going in the background, though, if possible. For some reason, that just helps me focus a little bit more. And I actually really enjoy writing in nature. That tends to be where I find the most inspiration. So, whether I've gone camping somewhere, for example, I'll bring a notebook with me and just write down any ideas that pop into my head. Or even if I'm at home, I like to at least be able to look out the window into nature, and that serves as some kind of inspiration for me.
Love that. What is your favorite writing snack and drink?
Writing, snack, and drink. For drink, it's a toss up between coffee or tea. I'm a fan of both of them. So it just depends on the day and the mood that I'm in. I would say coffee maybe more frequently, but tea is always a solid as well. When it comes to snacks, I'm a sucker for dark chocolate. That is something I love. And if you combine that with pretzels, it's just perfect in my opinion. So, chocolate covered pretzels are pretty darn good for a writing snack.
Love that. What type of books do you personally enjoy reading?
Yeah, I have just started to get back into reading actually. I read a lot when I was a kid, and then when I started going to university, I was reading a lot more, obviously, academic books, and so reading for fun has been a little bit elusive for me for the past few years, but I am getting back into it now. I like to read poetry and then some fiction as well. I've just been reading a few young adult fiction pieces, which have been really good to get me back into it.
Love that. Are there any books or authors that inspired you to become a writer?
I would say Rupi Kaur's collection of poetry is a big one. She was definitely someone that I resonated with, especially because she is a Canadian author that self published at the beginning of her journey as well. And so that was really inspiring for me to see her success. And I also resonated a lot with her work. So she is someone I admire for sure.
Love that. What books did you grow up reading? Did you have an all-time favorite?
That's such a hard question. I would not say I had an all time favorite just because I read so much, mostly in obviously young adult novels at the time I was reading. I would say I read lots of romance. Yeah, that would probably be the dominant genre that I was reading at the time, but anything young adult I really enjoyed.
Love that. On the other side of that, now as an adult, what are your favorite series or authors that if they come out with something, you automatically grab it?
Yeah, as I'm still getting back into reading, I wouldn't say I have a huge favorite series at the time. Apart from Rupi Kaur's work, I'll always get her books when they come out because I like reading her work and seeing her style as well. So I would say I'm naturally gravitating to poetry collections, which obviously aren't typically in a series. So a little bit of a different structure there, but hoping to get back into reading more fiction because that's a lot of fun too.
Love that. What would you tell someone just starting out with reading again?
I would say find a way that you can get back into it that makes you excited. That's something that I've been looking for, and having that exciting feeling to read really makes a big difference, and it makes you actually want to read. So even if you feel like there's certain books that you should be reading, I think you should just always go with what you actually want to read, which of course is going to be a little bit different for every person.
Love that so much. On the other side of that, what would you tell someone just starting to write their own book?
I would say just do it and don't wait. I think if there's any regrets that I do have, it would be not starting earlier or not putting my book out sooner. Of course, I'm happy with the way that things worked out now, but I don't think that you should delay if you have a talent for writing and a love for writing. People need to hear your story, and it's really important that you share that.
Love that. What's one thing that people are generally surprised to find out about you?
Well, I don't know if I would say it was a surprise, but coming out with my first poetry collection was definitely a big deal. I don't know if there were a lot of people that necessarily knew that I wrote poetry. So in that sense, I think it might have been a little bit surprising, but the feedback and the reception has been really really good, which is something I've really appreciated.
Amazing. Is there anything you would like to say or add?
I think just coming back to what we talked about before, if there are folks that are wanting to get into writing, I just strongly encourage you to do it. And I think it's really important that you follow your passions and write the story that's in your heart.
Amazing. Love that so much. Where's the best place for readers to find your book? I know some readers love signed copies. Is that an option and the best place to connect with you?
Absolutely. If you're interested in a signed copy, you can get in touch with me on my website, which is kiaragoesglobal.com. There is the option to place your order there, and I believe you can just add a note that you want it to be signed, and that's something I can do for you. There are also copies of my book available on Amazon, so that's a great option too. And of course, you can stay in touch with me on social media at Kiara Goes Global.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much for being here today. We're so grateful that we got to interview you. We'll be sure to drop those links in the show notes. And again, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Courtney.